G'day all, welcome back. We're on the internet together again today. We're talking about rural Victorians. They've had a gutful of the Victorian government. Let's jump into this one. It's a very interesting watch.
Across rural Victoria, the signs of discontent are everywhere. Placards lining the road signs. The distinctive yellow overalls of volunteer firefighters draped on fences and outside fire stations in protest. So what is so riling rural residents? In short, the issues are many and the anger runs deep.
I just think people had enough in the bush of being told what to do.
We're all aggrieved by what's happening and rural councils have had enough. We are sick of not being heard and we're sick of not having the funding that we need to make the infrastructure and our communities thrive.
At the moment in our community there is white-hot anger. We've been ignored for the last 2 years and they're just not listening, so people are at their wits' end.
No, big grab! No, big grab!
Rural Victorians accuse the state government of neglecting them, overtaxing them, even threatening to destroy their livelihood and communities by building mass.
Have a look at that. So absolutely, they're being fleeced. You can understand why they are very disgruntled. You have that fire levy charges that are getting pushed through to rural areas and rural businesses that are getting hit with all these taxes. Complete cash grab. And look at this too. So people say, and I was ranting on about this yesterday, about green energy, renewable energy. Look how clean that is. So you've got, look at that, as far as the eye can see, you've got all this beautiful green, either farming land or Commonwealth land that's been butchered and it's had all these poles installed, and underneath that, under the ground there are transmission lines that also run under the ground. As far as the eye can see, yeah, green energy. That's the thing about the government as well. You've got all these people who are living in rural areas who are directly impacted by the development of this infrastructure, and they're not heard. They are told. They are told we are acquiring the land and we're just going to do what we want. And you can't do anything about it. Can you imagine that? Forced acquisition of your property so they can run power lines through it. But no one cares because it's out in the bush somewhere, right? It's out in a rural community and people don't care. People sitting in the offices, they had AusNet, right? AusNet will be the developer who'll be managing all the contractors to put all this infrastructure up. They don't give a shit. They don't have to see it every day. They're owner operators of that particular network, and that's how they're going to make their money, and it's all about money. And don't even get me started on electricity bills. But that'll just probably going to happen at some point. I can't promise you where my mind goes on these rants.
Of renewable energy infrastructure across their farmland. They've held protests in Melbourne, outside state parliaments, and staged rallies in several regional centres. The state's rural councils are also disgruntled.
We've got multiple taxes, we've got housing shortages, we've got childcare shortages, workforce shortages, and of course our roads. Most of them are undrivable, and we are sick of not being able to make this infrastructure and make our communities better for going forward.
Yeah, let's just send money over to Ukraine or send it over to some Middle Eastern countries for aid. Yeah, don't worry about all those millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars that we send off to other countries. Yeah, let's just let the roads rot here, because who cares? Who cares about the people out in the bush and their roads? That's astronomical. Look at that. Look at all the potholes. That footage was pretty clear. Very, very neglected.
Victorian Treasurer Jacqueline Symes agreed to speak to Landline and address many of these concerns.
You got to love it. Treasurer with no finance background.
I live in regional Victoria and get around myself, so like you, I'm hearing concerns from all quarters of the state, and there's a range of reasons. Cost of living is having a major impact and continues to do so. Successive interest rates.
Yeah, I'm one of you guys. I'm one of you. Oh, by the way, we're going to sit back and scheme how to get some more of your money to fund, not the roads out there, but the renewable energy developments that are probably ruining the community. So we're going to tax you more so that you directly, as a taxpayer, have to pay for these transmission lines, once again, that are destroying your land that is forcefully acquired from you.
It's really put a lot of pressure on people, and then other cost increases obviously is really pinching a lot of people. So in terms of that economic strain is coming through in a range of ways.
The issue that has most galled and galvanised rural Victorians is an increased levy called the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund. Announced in the May state budget, residential property owners will see an average increase of about 29% for this year's rates. Commercial
29%. That is astronomical. Even 5%'s high, 29%. Who comes up with these numbers? As I said, people who don't have real jobs, have never had real jobs, sitting in offices down in Spring Street, going out for 4 coffees a day on the taxpayer dime. We got these people out here having a hard run of getting ends to meet because they're continuously getting shafted.
And industrial properties of around 63%. Primary producers have been granted a temporary pause on increases for this financial year, but the variable rate for them will increase significantly in coming years.
It is all about making sure that we stand ready with well-resourced emergency services to help those communities in the event of a natural disaster.
Pat Millier.
Absolute rubbish. It's all about Labor. They love a good tax, and all these people who voted in Labor. They're there for the people. They're there for you, battlers. They've got you covered. We're against the big end of town. Yeah, we're going to make life more affordable for you. And then the absolute opposite happens. Through taxation, through extra levies and charges, like it's a lot more expensive. Under Labor, that's all they know how to do is tax. Well, people voted for it. Somehow they got in. All the bleeding hearts, all the gender politics, all the people that support all those causes overseas, they all voted because they can sip their lattes sitting in Brunswick and Fitzroy and not seeing the impact of their stupid voting decision.
A long-time Country Fire Authority volunteer, one of 50,000 in Victoria, labels it a land tax.
We were absolutely gutted when that came out. I mean, it's just all the hard work that that we've done now, and then you roll that back to members who have been part of the CFA for decades and decades. I mean, it's an absolute kick in the guts for them to be told by the state government that they're going to have to pay into a volunteers fund. All they're doing is just putting money back into their big black hole in Melbourne.
That's it.
Of course, the critics say it's not all going to the CFA and the volunteers, that they're driving 35-year-old fire trucks, that it's really a bit of a stealth tax. So how do you respond to those accusations?
Yeah, well, first of all, I can absolutely confirm that 100% of the levy goes towards our emergency services. That includes CFA, SES, FRV, and the agencies that support those to do what they do. So 000 Victoria, Emergency Recovery Victoria, and the like. We have increased the amount that the levy contributes to the base funding of those organisations, and that funding base continues to rise each and every year.
i.e. you get taxed more each and every year. I want to talk about, look at that. This is stuff you just don't see much of, and it's become very, very common in Australia, and more particular Victoria. People are angry here. People are mad. People are hating the government. Right? There's a lot of discontent. That's why we've got all these marches and stuff going on, and they can vilify people and say it's racial hatred, but it's anti-government protest. That's what people are doing. They're going out, walking around, waving the Australian flag around because they're not happy with what's going on here, what Labor government is doing, destroying life for everyday Australians here in Victoria. It's taking the absolute piss. More tax after tax. Victoria's flat broke. But why? Because they spend all their money on this stupid suburban rail loop. Who asked for a train from Cheltenham to Box Hill? Who cares? Who literally cares? More important things to be spending the money on now. And it's definitely not power lines as well, these transmission lines. And I was going on about it yesterday, so I'm going to try and not hijack it with this today. But think about all the protests that are happening. How when you speak to the people in your network, your friends, maybe even over the dinner table, people are not happy with what's going on here. Vast majority of people are going to say they're very discontent at the moment. Life's gotten very hard. And I think it will continue to do so. But don't say anything, guys, otherwise you're a racist. Don't critique what the government's doing in any way. You're a racist.
Pat Millier is a prominent producer of fine merino sheep on a Western Victorian farm that has been home to the family since the 1870s. As a CFA group captain, he also sees a score of Western Victorian brigades. In mid-December last year, lightning strikes lit up the Grampians National Park. Mr Millier and teams of other volunteers spent a fortnight of their own time trying to get the bushfire under control.
18 brigades, a lot of volunteers with their trucks here, day shift, night shift. Private tankers, big part of this Westmere Group brigade. We've got Westmere Group, like this. We've got 400 private tankers here.
Many of the volunteers are farmers who use their own private tankers to fight the fire. Their local knowledge and efforts helped avert the destruction of several small towns. Pat Millier says the work of volunteers saves the state government untold amounts of money.
Yeah, so they say the government, all these people that are putting all their time and a lot of the time their own resources on the line to protect the community from these disasters, from these fires. What's your reward? Getting taxed. Awesome. Great place we live in.
Motor vehicle accidents, we'd attend 24/7, 365 days of the year, and they show us that sort of disrespect on we're going to sting you some money for this because we can.
News of the updated levy came while most of Victoria was in the grip of severe drought, leading many to accuse the state government of being city-centric and out of touch.
And it's going to...
Absolutely it is city-centric. Or what's the Victorian government caring about? It's all these left-leaning policies. Net zero, and Victoria is probably the main offender of that major spend that's going on. It's all running through Victoria, New South Wales to Victoria, or that renewable. That's where the big projects are happening at the moment. The joint's broke and they're going and doing stuff like that no one asked for. No one voted for it. If they had, for something like that, and I was talking about it yesterday, they reckon the capital expenditure, this is estimated, so it'd be more than that, to get all this, renewable energy infrastructure put in and all that sort of stuff up and running over a number of years will be $140 billion. For that amount of spend, they should put that out to a referendum. Who actually wants that? And you know what? I don't think it'll get up. They're just pushing it through. They're going to do it anyway because it was voted in by soy latte drinking, limp-wristed dudes out in Fitzroy and Brunswick wearing, waving the Palestinian flag around. And that's all it cares about. Oh, let's care about LGBT plus education for 5-year-olds in schools and working from home legislation. No one cares about all this shit. How about we fix the joint instead of making it worse? All the machete bins. The joint's a complete basket case.
Millions of dollars.
All right, probably more than halfway. Consider pressing the hyper button if it is on your device. If you're using a mobile device, have a look at the comments section, swipe left or right. It should come up. If it's not, you're not crazy. It doesn't do it on all the videos. Consider subbing, liking, commenting. Let's keep going.
Out of our rural communities, and our rural communities are already hurting from drought, the cost of living, childcare shortages and everything in between. So why are we putting this extra tax onto our rural community?
Councillor Kate Macon is also Mayor of Corangamite Shire in southwest Victoria. The region grows a quarter of Australia's dairy production, but she's worried about its future.
Why are we not rewarded for providing for the rest of the state?
Issues such as the poor state of roads.
Have a look at that.
The roads are deteriorated to an extent that they're nearly irreparable.
Roads
No, that's all right. Send aid over to Ukraine. That's more important.
is probably the issue that I hear about the most. We know that we are spending almost $1 billion on maintenance. We've got a lot of recovery in relation to do from flooding experience in 2022 in particular. That is certainly something that we're very much focused on as a government.
That was newsflash. That was three years ago.
At present, all ratepayers in Victoria are receiving their annual rate notices, which includes the new Emergency Services Fire Levy.
Mine was up over 10%. They snuck that in, and it is highly clearly labelled out. You have to really look into the rates notice and what's made up that expenditure to see it. They snuck that little one through. That wasn't on the news. That wasn't broadcasted, was it?
Councils have printed the new tax with a red box and disclaimer.
So that's the Emergency Services Fire Levy tax, and I'll call it a tax because that's what it is, and that's highlighting to our ratepayers that that's coming from the state government, and that money goes straight back to the state government. That doesn't come to us at council, it goes straight back there.
Yeah. Could you find a more hated premier? Oh, I thought Dan was the peak. I don't know. I think Jacinta's learned very well from him. How to wreck the joint and how to be completely hated.
Rural Councils Victoria sought legal advice, hoping councils wouldn't have to collect the tax for the state government, but found that legally it must do so. If ratepayers withhold their rates in protest, the councils will have to fund the shortfall from their own finances.
I think they do a wonderful job, small rural councils, and I know they often do that under immense financial pressure. It's why we continue to talk to them about the resources they need.
Renewable energy is
we talk to them about it. We don't give it to them. They're very good at talking, these people. That's all it is. They're nothing jobs.
another major grievance in rural Victoria. This is the Golden Plains Wind Farm in Western Victoria, the largest yet undertaken in Australia. The company behind this venture has approval for 228 of these giant turbines, with blades that stretch 240 metres into the sky. Rural Victorians aren't against renewable energy per se, but many are alarmed by the speed of the rollout, the massive scale, and most importantly, the fact that to do it, it needs to roll across vast swathes of farmland.
Hundreds of kilometres these lines go for. It isn't like 5 kilometres. Hundreds of them. Look at the do a quick look of the projects. Let's look up renewable energy transmission line projects in Victoria. Bang, you'll end up on a website. It'll show you all the maps of everything that's happening. I did it before I actually made this video, so I could be somewhat informed. The scale of these things is enormous.
Most notably, the Western Renewables link. This high-voltage electricity transmission line would span almost 200 kilometres from Western Victoria to Melbourne's northwest. Private company AusNet and the government say it will help deliver clean, affordable energy to Victorians. Construction is planned to start in late 2026, but not if many in its path get their way. At Torello, north of Ballarat, Catherine Myers has just read the 10,000-page Environment Assessment Statement, her latest effort in her 5-year bid to halt the project, which would see tall transmission towers and high-voltage lines built across their potato-producing enterprise.
That's the thing, you can fight all you want, but Big Daddy Government is going to do whatever it wants. And that's it. They do these community engagement groups, they do traditional landowner engagement. It's all just to save face. They've made decisions behind the scenes and they're going to do things regardless of what the feedback is. It's all just lip service. I'm telling you that now. Don't ask me how I know, but let's just say I know.
I don't think there's any doubt that our current electricity network and grid is absolutely out of date and no longer fit for purpose. So we're really keen to see that investment in new infrastructure. We just don't want it to be coming at the cost of our food and fibre security and the well-being of...
How about just doing nuclear. Let's get over and done with, cheaper and cleaner. Come on. No, everyone's been scared off it. Oh, you're going to have Chernobyl here in Australia. Get nuclear power plants. Let's stop stuffing around. All right. Let's make electricity affordable for business and for people. They don't want that. Because these large energy retailers, they're making an absolute killing. My bill went up about 20% this year. Just got a notice a couple of months ago. 20%. Yeah, good old Elbow saying that electricity prices, we're going to get those down for you and we're going to give you a rebate of $200. Yeah, cheers. It's gone up $2,000 a year. Give me $200. Good on you, mate. And that's not for everyone. It's only for applicable people. Complete basket case lead. Victoria's absolutely cooked. I love the place, I do. That's why I make these videos, especially the ones more focused around Australia that I do a lot of the time at the moment, is because it's such a great place to live and it has gone just gone to the dogs. Metropolitan Melbourne, absolutely cooked. Suburban Victoria, suburban Melbourne area, it's just not what it was. It's just not what it was. Put in the comments if you share my sentiment, if you're from either rural Victoria or from Melbourne. Downhill. It's been a steady decline. I've noticed it probably the last 10 to 15 years. You see, year on year, it just gets worse. There's more nut jobs around. When I say nut jobs, wokies and that carrying on, pushing stupid agendas.
Our rural communities.
Ms Myers, who is also Vice President of the Victorian Farmers Federation, fears she has exhausted every possible angle to oppose it.
Just feels like a punch from the city saying rural Victoria doesn't matter.
That's why we want to work with them. That's why there is compensation if your property is impacted. It's why we've set up the Community Benefits Fund to ensure that communities can come to government and talk about things that's important to them.
Lip service, it doesn't matter. They've already made, these decisions are made. These contracts they get worked on for years between these developers and the government. They're not stopping that because Joe Blow on his farm here doesn't want it. Absolutely. There's community engagement is just pandering, or the perception of pandering to affected groups, and no outcome happens. They still do it anyway.
At Gree, a couple of hours' drive to the northwest, Jason Barrett would prefer to be focused on the family farm, a merino sheep and cropping enterprise, not fighting the planned transmission line that would cut through the middle of it, and he believes
who just jams the things in its mouth. It's like you're having it, no matter what.
Threaten its very existence.
Myself and a mate set up this monument here to basically show our grievances and our disappointment with the state government and what they're trying to do to us, pushing this massive transmission line through on us.
Jason Barrett is worried the infrastructure needed for renewable energy will be environmentally detrimental, increase the risk of fires, and jeopardise food and fibre production.
Because once you've got a transmission line, then that encourages all the rest, the renewable energy we don't want here. We don't want these 280 metre tall wind turbines, batteries, solar panels. We just don't want that out here. We don't want this environment destroyed. That's top of mind for me.
Yeah, it's all clean, guys. It's all clean. It's good for the environment and for net zero. Hey, look at that. Those things are absolute monstrosities, eyesores.
The state government, with the support of minor parties, has just passed a bill which allows for greater penalties for landholders who block access to this construction work.
That police can be used to force access on farms where farmers don't want that, and that fines will be issued up to $12,000 for an individual and $50,000 for a business.
That's it. Get the hammer and sickle out, guys, because we are living in communist state. The hammer and sickle needs to be on the Australian flag. The hammer and sickle needs to be hung from Victorian Parliament. How's that? We're going to use police to get onto your land, whether you like it or not. And we're going to do what we're going to do. That's what I said. It doesn't do anything. Decisions are made. There's so much money invested in this. It's happening.
Mr. Barrett says he and others are digging in for the fight, and the new penalties won't deter them.
if we try and stop them coming onto our own property, but people are that angry, they're willing to take the fines, and we will. We'll bring our tractors, we'll come with 20, 30 people, and we'll stop them coming on our property because this is wrong, this has been forced on us against our will, and there's alternatives. We're going to block them, and we're just not going to let them on our property at all.
Opponents say underground power lines, though more expensive, are the only feasible option. The Treasurer disagrees.
Yeah, look, it is expensive, but it's also contrary to the advice that we have. So it would be more disruptive to agricultural land, more expensive in trying to identify faults, and frankly, not a practical option going forward.
Victoria has the largest per capita debt of any Australian state. You've got a pretty sizable job. I think the deficit's 167 billion last count. Is it simply a case of austerity measures until the balance is back? Is it some tough years ahead until we get back to fiscal stability? Do we have to, as Victorians, and particularly rural Victorians, endure some tough years until that happens?
Well, I would say that we have to make tough choices. We have to make. I've
got a choice. Don't vote Labor, but you guys are going to do it. This is what you get. They don't give two shits about you. Listen to this. A few tough choices for you, not for them. Because you're paying their wage, their inflated wages as well, and superannuation contributions. You're paying for all that. Absolute basket case.
Good decisions as a government. And I would say that in relation to the investment in rural and regional Victoria, we have demonstrated that they're very important to government. $47 billion in the past decade.
Councillor Macon says that funding is needed now.
Our communities are really resilient, but that resilience is wearing very thin. And we want to know that we are respected and we are rewarded for what we provide this state. To build those infrastructures, to build those houses, to build those buildings, those factories, to make the workers come so we can have childcare here in country Victoria, because it's lacking, and that's the reason why we can't get people into our jobs here in rural Victoria. We need it easier, we need it more financially viable, and we need to have it happening right now, not in 5 years' time, not in 10 years' time, because some of these communities will not survive that long.
Yeah, and the thing is too, just got a closing statement. So they need extra funding from the government. Absolutely. That's where all this money should be going, that are being raised by the farmers back into the local regional communities, which is not, as I said, it's just a scam by these Labor politicians, people in Treasury, trying to work out after their 3-day summit on how to tax people, productivity summit, how to productively tax you more. It's not going back into the community. And what happens if there's a shortfall on the amount of money they need to collect due to people not paying, then they just take it off the council. How's that for just... It's just a joke. All right, I've had enough. I can't watch any more of it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.